You are still watching Optimal Play. I am still Brandon.
I'm still Steven.
And this is our 8th out of 10 videos looking at the new player cards that were dumped upon us by 5 Investigator starter decks coming out at once for the Arkham Horror card game. We're here for the leveled up cards for Nathaniel Cho, the boxer. How do you feel? You got any energy left?
I think I have a couple rounds left in me.
Well played. Not throwing in the towel yet.
Nope.
All right. Well, if you're just finding Optimal Play, we on these videos talk about the latest player cards for Arkham Horror, the card game. We've been doing this for some other games too, sometimes with other guests. And we also have lots of playthroughs of games where we shoot them on lots of cameras and edit them like a TV show. So yeah, if you're just finding us, we'd love you to subscribe and check out our other stuff. But for now, down to business. I can see here the top leveled up card of Nathaniel's deck is Evidence, which I was surprised by. It's a level 1 version of the core set classic that is like really a Roland staple. This is a 1-cost event. It has 2 intellect icons. It's an insight. It says fast, play after you defeat an enemy. Discover 1 clue at your location. 2 clues instead if you defeated enemies with a combined total of at least 4 printed health this turn.
That's a lot of enemies.
So Evidence is one of those cards that is fine when the card pool is small and really Guardians don't. I don't play a lot of true solo, so maybe Guardians still play Evidence in true solo when they need to also be pulling their weight getting the clues. But I sure haven't played it in a while.
I think it's still fine.
Yeah. Does this bring us back to it?
So the one other thing I would love to see is if it had like an extra icon, because especially Nathaniel, 2 book icons is often not going to be enough.
He has a base skill of 2, right?
Would have loved to see a 3rd book icon. That being said, this is only 1 XP, so like, the fact that it's not that much better, I think it's still worth considering.
The previous one did almost the same thing, right? It's just this parenthetical text that's been added.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're spending 1 XP for some parentheses, but between them they say 2 clues if you defeated enemies with a total of at least 4 printed health. I think 90% of the time it's going to be that you defeated an enemy with at least 4 health. Right? Like,
yeah.
Sure, you might defeat 2 enemies, but to line up, there's multiple enemies. They add up to at least 4. There's at least 2 clues on your location at that time. And if it was multiple enemies, you didn't have a lot of like say in where you fought them, probably. That seems.
There are the swarming enemies in Dream Eaters where that'll be relevant.
That's true. They often have 1 hit point though, and you're probably not going to kill more than 3 of them.
Sometimes 2 though.
Yeah. Okay, I think if I had Evidence in my deck, it's a big if. Like I said, I don't really ever use it, but that this would be a fine option for like when I have a spare XP to spend. Level it up to this. I don't think that like this card in a vacuum is exciting. I don't think it's something that I'm any more likely to put into my deck than the original Evidence.
Yeah, I think the fact that they only included 1 version of Evidence in this deck is smart. I think if you're a newer player and you had the level 0 Evidence and you had the level 1 Evidence, it would have been pretty unexciting. You'd be like, wow, I just got 2 cards that are very, very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't really, it'd be weird to give them both to you in the same product when they're this similar. And then it's not a spirit. I think that because of Nathaniel's synergy with spirits via his boxing gloves, it would be much more interesting if it was a spirit. As an insight, like, I don't really see it.
Yeah, and Joe, it was always a little awkward in Joe because, like, what if it came up in your insight deck, but there's no enemies around or something? If there was like a version that had some alternate use when you didn't defeat an enemy. Like if it said like you can also use this to gain 2 resources or something, then it would be a much better Joe card.
Yeah, the original evidence is not that good in Joe's Hunch deck because it's too niche. It's too common for it to come up and there not be an enemy to defeat with a clue at your location. And then this one just adds an even more niche situation on top of that. So I think if you're running evidence in Joe's Hunch deck for some reason, you're probably just sticking with the level 0 one.
Yep. Well, the next card, because I don't think we need more on this one, is Galvanize. This is a spirit. It's a 2-cost event, 1 XP, 2 will, fast, play only during your turn, ready a guardian asset you control. You may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used to fight.
Okay, so obviously everyone's first thought, this can ready Relentless so that you can deal an excess damage again and get another resource out of it, right?
Yeah,
this is why this is here.
We might have to retape our previous video just because we were so off about Relentless being bad. It's clearly great.
So I think without the readying an asset, this is still interesting. We've kind of said like 2 resources is a fair cost for a free action. And so I think this being fast and you may take an additional action on your turn, which can only be used to fight. Definitely situations where that's useful. I don't know how often the ready a guardian asset you control is actually all that useful because weapons, guardian weapons at least, you don't usually exhaust.
I think it's for boxing gloves. So boxing gloves has to exhaust.
So they have to exhaust to search for a card.
Yeah.
So right. It's not like they have to exhaust to boost a fight.
No. But this lets you draw 2 spirits. Basically, you draw this, and then you use this to draw the next spirit.
If you defeat 2 enemies in the same turn.
Yeah. Well, you're boxing. and then you play leveled up evidence.
It's a very I think this is a very multiplayer card because at least in Nathaniel's deck, it's just for readying your boxing gloves because I think the only other asset that exhausts is Safeguard, but this only plays during your turn and that's not really when you care about readying Safeguard. So all this really does is ready your...
Hold on. You could have one person come by, you follow them, then you take your turn, then the third player comes by and you follow them. So
Yeah, I got there too, but I didn't think it was worth mentioning.
I think it's weird that it doesn't say fights, because then it would actually, I think, be substantially better in Nathaniel. If instead of you have an additional action to fight, if it just said fight, then it would trigger Nathaniel. So I don't know why they didn't do that. Like, I guess they wanted to give you the flexibility of like doing some other stuff before the fight, but it actually makes it worse.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm thinking, what are the talents that exhaust? Like well prepared, right? That's the one that exhausts to give you a stat boost equal to the icons of an asset you have in play. I think that's an interesting thing to ready with this, because this gives you an extra fight, and then that also gives you an extra stat boost. And it would let you use something like a beat cop twice in one turn, but since that's already dealing damage to itself, you're not really trying to like crank through its uses as fast as possible usually.
I do think this is mostly here for boxing gloves.
Yeah, and which I think is bad. I don't think that the situation of you need multiple enemies and the payoff of just draw a card is worth that. Yeah,
I think it's a little overcosted or something.
It does have 2 willpower icons, so like there's always like it's a guts alternative version, right? But that comparison doesn't work as well when it's an XP cost card. If this was level 0, I think that it would be like, oh, maybe I'll play this instead of guts as a willpower boost card. All right, so now we're back to proper boxing skills. Leveled up counterpunch. This is a level 2 guardian event. It costs 0 resources, has tons of icons, spirit and tactic. Fast, play when an enemy attacks you before resolving. Actually, I think this is different. Before resolving that attack, fight. This attack deals the attacking damage. What? Why did I read it that way? This attack targets the attacking enemy. That is... My brain broke there. Okay. Fight. This attack targets the attacking enemy. You get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. I'm going to have to compare whether the stats here, the +2 combat and +1 damage, are any different, but this happening before it damages you seems like the biggest difference to me.
I think everything is better. I think like they, other than maybe the cost was already 0, I think they added an icon. I think they changed the timing to be way better. I think it adds more fight and more damage.
Wow, yes, the level 0 version has no plus combat or plus damage. Wow, this is a lot better. For 2 experience, this is a huge upgrade.
Yeah, I actually, it's shocking that they only gave this 2 XP if they thought because obviously these were designed at the same time for the same pack.
Of course, yeah.
So like, yeah, this is just so much better.
Wow, and I thought the other card was fine. This one though, it's almost like another fight action because it does not have the downside of you have to take any damage in horror. You just have to let an enemy stick around until the enemy phase and then finish it off at that time.
Yeah, so if you need 4 actions to kill all the enemies at your location, you do your 3 actions, and then you just allow this to happen. And you do an additional 2. In fact, does this combo even better with Nathaniel? It does, because he's once per phase. So you get to use Nathaniel again.
We didn't think of that last time. That's also true of the original counterpunch, right? Because this is a different phase, so you can trigger his ability again. Cool. I was trying to find... I'm looking through his... I've got a mess of cards in my hands right now. This is great TV. As I looked for... What card rewards you for killing a certain number of hit points worth? There was something besides this new evidence, right?
Super evidence.
I thought... was there not something else too? Maybe I'm...
Was there something else? I mean, there's
am I going crazy here?
Relentless for doing extra damage.
Yeah. Maybe I'm going crazy. I could have sworn that there was another.
Well, obviously you could spend XP to versatile for let God sort them out.
Let God sort them out. Yeah. Which it's funny. I would love, even if it has to be only certain investigators that can play both, I would love to see like kill a lot of enemies all in one turn being like a deck archetype. I don't know if would actually be like a viable good archetype ever, but
you can kind of do it in Zoe because she has access to like dynamite blast and grenades, and I guess you could take the get over here. So that's the closest thing.
Yeah, so I must just be going really crazy because I don't think there was one. I was going to... So I guess I'll look at evidence then. What I was wondering was, does the fact that it's a different phase ruin you like trying to accumulate a certain number of hit points worth of kills in the turn with counterpunch? And it doesn't... No, it does. Yeah, okay. Because even though you can play evidence... Oh yeah, that's weird. So evidence works if you kill an enemy in the enemy phase. It just says play after you defeat an enemy. But then it says you get 2 clues instead if you defeated enemies with 4 or more health this turn, and it's not a turn. All right, I'm overthinking this. This isn't important to talk about.
Yeah, not a combo.
No, not a combo, and not important. All right, amazing card though.
As part of this non-combo, you could play Get Over Here level 2. Which is a 2-cost event with 2 will icons and 1 fist icon. Spirit and Tactic, fast, play during any fast window. I think the old one was maybe not fast. Yeah, it wasn't fast. It's still got this weird engage and fight thing. And then it says choose an enemy up to 2 locations away. Move that enemy to your location, engage it, and attack it.
So it's fast and 2 locations.
That's substantially more kind of action. Like it's saving you now a bunch of actions.
Potentially, yeah. Kind of one example I brought up last time was that cultist with a doom on it that you have to chase down. Like this could save you a lot of actions from having to go hunt down an enemy that's not hunting you. This seems good. The fast play during any window is so weird because you can play this during a different skill test, right? you can be investigating, and in the middle of investigating, decide now is the time that I want to pull this enemy over here and kill them. I don't really know why you would do that, but you could.
Well, but I think what is huge though is during like your seeker's turn. Like, imagine that there are some effects that cause monsters to appear during the investigator phase. Maybe there's some scenario where like a location spawns a monster.
Mm-hmm.
That can really end some characters' turns. Ursula moves to this location. She's thinking, oh, I'm going to take free investigate and I'm going to do all this cool stuff. But the location says spawn a monster. If your guardian can then like in real time be like, oh no, actually I'll take that monster, and you can keep going on your turn, that is really cool.
Or if you're a rogue with their sweet Mauser that I'm jealous of, like fails to ready it to attack a second time, in the middle of their turn, you can pull the enemy off so they can take the rest of their actions doing other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, this seems great. Some really powerful upgraded versions of already really interesting events here. This is cool.
Yeah, the attack itself is still kind of weak, but at this point, because it's fast in 2 locations, like the attack is almost beside the point. It's really about the instant transportation.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, this is not an upgrade. This is a new event. Lesson learned. It is a level 2 Guardian event that costs 1 resource, has a bunch of icons, mostly intellect. It's an insight and a spirit. It says fast, play after you take damage from an enemy attack. Discover 2 clues at your location. Okay. So I know MJ Newman explained that kind of the design goal on these was to have 2 kind of upgrade paths for each investigator in their pack. So it seems like maybe one is more clue focused here because we've seen evidence and now this. This seems good if you're building like a tanky deck with Flesh Ward and those kinds of things, and maybe we'll see more support for that.
Yeah, you can't Flesh Ward it all away, but it lets you Flesh Ward maybe the horror or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, this is the first that I can remember Insight and Spirit. So, it also falls into those 2 patterns of Nathaniel or Joe. And Joe can also use those 2 book icons to be at 6 investigate, although it'll probably be in his Insight deck, I guess. So, yeah, it seems solid in both. Not, again, in 3 or 4 player, as you say, like your Guardian doesn't need to get that many clues.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I've got a tingling feeling that how Chuck Fergus in the Winnie upgrades like force us to reevaluate half the things we talked about, and maybe to a lesser extent, but the Necronomicon and Harvey also made us reevaluate tome synergy cards. I wonder if this like taking damage from enemies theme is going to have a big punchline at the end of this pack that will make it make more sense.
Yeah, he can take 9 damage. So if there was some event that like did a damage for every damage he had taken, and you could just deal like 8 damage to the end boss, that'd be cool.
Ooh, it would. All right.
Another thing I'm thinking about is with these cards being good for solo. I think actually most of these investigators we've seen so far have been pretty good at solo.
True. Yeah, I'd say so.
Maybe Harvey a little bit less. And these packs have been selling out really, really well. It's very hard to find these packs all over stores in America, at least. So I do think, it's probably a bit dumb luck, but like releasing these very solo-friendly, fairly newcomer-friendly products in the middle of a pandemic was just like brilliant.
It's good points. I would agree that it's probably dumb luck. I'm sure that these were in design well before COVID was a thing, and definitely before we thought we'd still be locked in our houses 7 months later. Yeah, it's great for that. All right, we've learned enough lessons.
All right, the next card. Oh, we've talked about this a lot.
We did. It's here.
Mano a Mano, 0 cost, 2 XP event, Spirit and Bold. Play only as your first action. Deal 2 damage to an enemy engaged with you. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So 3 Tesla's damage now.
So yeah, Mano a Mano is a level 1 card that does 1 damage and is complete trash because it really doesn't provide you extra damage that you could do, or what, extra damage above and beyond what you could probably do with that action anyway. And it has this limitation of only as your first action, meaning the enemy has to already be engaged with you, probably already attacked you. Yeah, this is recontextualized in a couple ways because with Nathaniel, well, because A, it does 2 damage. That right there, I think, makes this a card you would maybe play, and the level 1 card still a card you wouldn't. And then Nathaniel makes it a 3 damage attack. And if you are getting rewarded by these other cards we're seeing more and more of when the enemy hits you in the enemy phase, you're all of a sudden it's more reasonable to let an enemy survive a round so that you can play Mano a Mano at the start of your next turn.
Yep. The only downside with the play only as your first action thing now is that if you find it with boxing gloves in your first couple actions, you can't play it till the next turn. But
yeah, that's true. You find it with boxing gloves, you'll have to save it for later. But yeah, it's another card that kind of had to be here because of the boxing theme, right?
Yeah, and one other thing that I like about this is that it's testless and it has no elite restriction. So you can use it for testless damage against like really tough enemies.
You can. That's true. I was speculating that, or what I was saying, I maybe when we talked about Nathaniel's deck, what I wished I had seen was more testless damage that would be interesting to Carolyn. This kind of still isn't, just because the enemy has to be engaged with her. If she could use it almost as like a backstab or something when it was engaged with someone else, that would be a really compelling Guardian card for a more supporty Guardian. Here, you still got to be in the fray, so I don't think it makes sense for her. But okay. I see you, Mano a Mano. All right, next up we've got Overpower, level 2. It's a Guardian skill with 3 combat icons. It's practiced, expert, says max 1 committed per skill test. If this skill test is successful, draw 1 card, 2 cards instead if it succeeds by 2 or more.
Okay. Boxing gloves, 2 costs, 3 XP asset. It's an item and a weapon. You get +2 fight while fighting, and reaction after you defeat an enemy. Exhaust boxing gloves. Search the top 9 cards of your deck for a spirit event and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck.
I don't actually think this is good. I think boxing gloves are good. I think like this card is good. I don't think you pay 3 XP for these differences.
I mean, double the passive boost seems pretty strong to me.
Yeah, I mean, double sounds like a lot, but increase from 6 to 7 is like not that big a deal. And then plus you could spend that XP on improving your fight events to include better bonuses.
Yeah, it is. It's also cheaper, which I think is relevant.
It is, but you're only going to play 1 of these per game, right? So it's not like it's relevant, but it's not that impactful. It's not like you're cycling through your deck and playing 3 or 4 copies of these a game. Yeah, I think it remains a really good card, and I would not spend my XP on this very willingly.
I think I would include 1 copy of this pretty early on. And my reason is, I think if you have an early Randall Cho, being able to grab a version that's 1 cheaper and gets you 1 more fight and you search 3 more cards, I think that's super valuable.
Interesting. Randall Cho lets you search your deck for a weapon, meaning you can find your higher level one wherever it is.
I think that if I don't draw Randall Cho, if I just draw the level 0 version, I still play it. This one has 2 icons, so it's still not like a horrible late game draw.
I did notice that this has, well, wait, it does have 1 more icon than the original, right? Yes. So it does mean if you upgrade them both, then the second one has a better alternative use than the 1 icon version, but that's a lot to spend 6 XP on. I don't know. Maybe I underestimate it. Maybe boxing gloves are just so central to the way he plays that this is worth it. But like, I think that searching 9 cards instead of 6 is forgettable. I think you're going to have so many spirit cards that it maybe will give you more options, but I think it's rare that like you'll find one because you looked at 9 and you wouldn't have found one if you looked at 6. I don't think that that's that common. So
I think it's also probably that I play hard more than you, and like for me, getting plus
humble
1
brag.
to like, yeah, I think it's mainly because I'm better than you. That I see the value in having plus 1 to potentially 15, 20 tests that you take for the rest of the game.
Valid point. Higher difficulty, another static boost, definitely carries more value. I am a mostly standard player, so once you're at 6 skill, like that's pretty good. Okay. Well, we've got I said when we met Greta. I've never met someone named Gret, so I bet this is Greta. Anyway, when we met Greta Wagner before, I forecasted that she would probably have a leveled up version, so I'm interested to see what it is. She still costs 5. She's a level 3 guardian asset, an ally, and a hunter. You get +1 combat and +1 intellect. And reaction, after you defeat an enemy, exhaust Greta Wagner and deal 1 damage to her. Discover 1 clue at your location or a connecting location. And then she has 4 health and 2 sanity.
The +1 book is interesting because I don't think it helps Nathaniel.
No, right? It really doesn't. It's good for like a Roland.
Yeah, I think maybe this is like Roland's big ally. I feel like he's never had an ally that was specifically him. I mean, Alice was like thematically the closest.
Yeah, I kind of thought that's what Alice Luxley was supposed to be.
But Alice wasn't that great. So
I could see Roland like playing Alice and then leveling up into Greta. Yeah, I mean, it also just depends on kind of your team comp, right? If you're trying to build a more well-rounded investigator that can fight some and get some clues, this makes sense. Or if you're playing true solo and need to be getting clues, this might make sense. If you're one of a 3 or 4 person team and your goal is just to kill everything so that other people can get clues, this isn't the ally you're going to play.
Yeah, but still, like, this one now does get you pretty consistently 4 clues because 4 HP and like the requirement to get the clues is now super generous. Like normally you're going to be within 1 location of a clue.
You're right. It's a lot easier for this situation to come up than defeating an enemy with a clue on your location. Agreed. Okay, I'm interested to give her a try. She didn't blow my socks off, but
yeah, and she's 1 too many XP for Joe to take. I think he would also be very interested in her. But.
Right. I do love, I don't know if I commented on this last time, but she's the Purifier, which is pretty badass with iron and salt, with water and fire. I love that is the way that Guardians interact with like the mystic, that's kind of how they interact with like the supernatural to bring it on their side, is like via purification and religion and kind of like holy cleansing kind of stuff, which I think comes across really, really cool. It's a cool theme.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
So Dynamite Blast, level 3. So I think we had 0 and 2 before.
Okay.
All of the icons. 2
great icons. Yeah.
2 fists. Although I feel like they probably could have just said 2 wild. It's a tactic. Play fast. Play during any window. Choose either your location or a connecting location. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and investigator at the chosen location. So I'm actually blanking on the difference. Was the previous one not fast?
Well, so the level 0 version is definitely not fast. It also is 5 resources. I think is otherwise the same. I don't know if I could tell you off the top of my head what the level 2 version was.
It decreased to 4, and I think it made it so that you don't take attacks when you do it, but other investigators still do.
Oh, like you mean like it doesn't provoke opportunities, or it doesn't deal damage to you?
It doesn't deal damage to you. It's so choose either so it's not fast. choose either your location or a connecting location. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and to each investigator. Oh, does not provoke that attacks opportunity. Yeah, you're right, actually. So it just had that.
Okay. So anyway, I think fast is a huge difference. Being able to let your allies, allies is the wrong word because allies are a thing. Letting the other players get out of a location so you can throw dynamite in. A big difference in the flexibility of the card. I think it seems really good. I don't think that it makes Dynamite Blast into a stellar card because it's kind of never been one.
Well, you were looking for the Bomb Carolyn card. This might actually be it. Like, she is rich, and I have included Dynamite Blast in her before because of that. But it's not like a killer card. This is a little more killer.
I mean, you're right. I was looking for testless damage events, which Dynamite Blast undeniably is.
And she definitely takes Stick to the Plan, which you can put this on. So you're spending 3 XP for a card that you'll start with.
Right. So you're guaranteed to get value out of this XP. Yeah, I'm sold on this for Carolyn. It seems great. She likes the willpower icons too, if it comes to it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then a Guardian Classic, Taunt, gets a level 3 version. It is a 1-cost event with a hodgepodge of icons. It's a tactic that says fast, play during any player window or any action window, any window. Engage any number of enemies at your location. For each enemy engaged this way, deal it 1 damage and draw 1 card. Ooh. Does this just kill entire swarms of enemies in Dream Eaters?
Yeah, I think so.
That seems busted then.
Well, can you engage individual swarms though? Is I guess the one thing I'm not sure about.
No, there's like a host. There's the host and the what's the term for the ones that are not the host? I forget, but they have to stay together, so it's not like you can pull one away. But if you're engaging them all and dealing them all 1 damage, I would think that this just kills them all if they have 1 hit point, which seems bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, like Storm of Spirits and grenades and stuff like that are also pretty bonkers for swarms. So.
Sure, that's true. Okay, Taunt's not a card that I have found a lot of use out of. Do you think that this is worth upgrading to with 3 experience?
Well, so I think there's only 2 characters. So there's Zoe can use this. And if you are able to get like 3 or 4 enemies together, you're making 3 resources, dealing 3 damage, and drawing 3 cards. Like, that's awesome. However, they have to all be not engaged with you currently. So probably a 3 or 4 player game will be the only time that there are that many enemies not engaged with you.
Right.
The other would be Nathaniel could engage like 3 enemies and then deal one of them 2 damage. And so maybe you kill that one, and then you have a couple other enemies that are wounded, and you finish them off. So that could be good.
So that's how this interacts with Nathaniel, is he does 2 damage to one and 1 to the rest.
That's what I assume.
I guess so. Honestly, this being... Yeah, so bringing it back to Nathaniel, this being a 1-cost fast event that engages an enemy and deals 2 damage to it, I don't think you even... And draws a card. I think this is actually really strong for him, even if it's only 1 enemy he's taunting.
I think it's strong, but for 3 XP, I'd still probably want to get 2 enemies, you know?
Sure, but I'm like, I think this is better than mono a mono at level 2 by quite a bit for him.
Maybe.
And this is another card that can be played out of investigator phase, so he could get an extra trigger of his power with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess if it actually kills an enemy, or helps a seeker or a mystic or someone like that continue their turn that they would otherwise have to pass, that's pretty strong. We've got a couple of these play during any action window cards. This is going to make me have to learn the windows better. Like, if you asked me where are the player windows in the enemy phase, I don't think I could tell you. So it's going to make me a better rules guru for sure. Yep. Well, next up is physical training, level 4, 2 cost, 2 will and 2 fist icons, talents, and then it uses 2 resources. Replenish these resources at the start of each round, And as a fast action, you can spend a resource from your pool or from physical training to get +1 will or +1 fight for this skill test.
Okay, so we saw this I think in just one other investigator. They had a similar. It's like the recurring credits in Netrunner, right? The way this works.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was Winnie who had it because I think we talked about Preston about it being similar to Preston.
Yeah. Sounds right.
I think it's fine, but other talents that tend to exhaust to give you +2-ish are comparable and might be the better choice for less XP.
Like if he's not going to have extra money, and I don't know that Nathaniel will, and honestly most Guardians don't, it's not really better than well prepared probably. And that's actually something we missed in the boxing glove level 3 discussion, is that it is much better with well prepared, that you get
the extra icon. Sure, good point.
So I think I would probably take well prepared if I had boxing gloves too, so that it was +2. Or if I had really good allies that gave me good icons.
Hey, this is good with well prepared. This has good icons for well prepared. So
yeah, that is true.
Just build that all talent deck you've been dreaming of. Just crush those basic actions.
Actually, going back a second, Greta Wagner has great icons for well prepared as well.
I was looking at that. Yeah,
Book and Wild. So that's
So two combat, 2 intellect, or one of the others if push came to shove. Really good with well prepared for sure.
So just play well prepared instead.
Yeah, basically, I think that's the takeaway. All right, 1-2 punch is a level 5 2-cost guardian.
So you're saying
event.
This is like a monster slayer?
Yeah, I'm expecting like that level of quality here. So let's see what we get. First and foremost, it has 4 combat icons, so that's good. It's a spirit and a tactic. Fight, you automatically succeed and deal +1 damage to this attack. You may fight again and get +3 combat and deal +2 damage for that attack. Whew. It's up there with Monster Slayer 5, yeah.
So Nathaniel does 6 damage with this? Yeah.
3 and then 3, yeah. Or 2 and then 4 if he wanted to for some reason.
Does he have the option?
Yeah, it's not a forced effect to use his ability, right? So we were saying in 1-2 punch, the level 0 version, that its potential Achilles heel is that if you fail the first test, you don't get to take the second, and so it's just a huge swing in impact because it's nothing instead of 4 damage. Here, that's not a problem. You still might not pass the second test, but you've got +3 combat to it, and you don't have to worry about passing the first. This card's really good.
Yeah, I think the automatic success, if all it said was like you automatically deal 3 damage to something, I guess mono is kind of like that. But the fact that most of the time you're going to do all that additional damage as well is crazy.
Yeah, I think if I have any flaws for this card, it's that sometimes it's just too much damage. You can't find a time that you need 6 damage all in one turn.
Well, so one thing though, it says you may fight again. It doesn't say it has to be against the same character, right?
Right. It could be multiple enemies. Yeah.
So that's pretty sweet.
It is. And honestly, even if there's just 1 3 hit point enemy at your location, playing this to automatically do 3 damage is like not the end of the world.
Yeah, it would be more efficient to use the new mono a mono, but
true if it's engaged with you for your first action.
That's true. Yeah,
this doesn't have that downside. Man, it's the first time anyone has ever said it would be more efficient to use mono a mono.
Yep.
Okay.
The original 1-2 punch did require it to be the same enemy, so that's another improvement.
Did I had too many cards in my hand. Was that the last card of the pack?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't realize I had extra cards in my hand from when I was flipping through all those too many cards before. Okay. How'd you like it?
So let's see. I don't know if there's anything that was like super like dynamic changing the way that there was for rogues, for example, with that Charles Ferguson at the end. But I think that most of the new fight events, there's a pretty solid upgraded version.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of solid upgrades. I think it's some attempts to reinvigorate cards like Evidence and Mono a Mono that at least I don't play a lot, and I think it's successful sometimes. Yeah, I think that the more exciting part of the pack was Nathaniel's deck, because that was really what introduced like this whole new playstyle. We gushed about it at the time. We don't have to rehash it. We really liked what we saw in his deck, and this just doesn't change much. It's just kind of a bunch of solid upgrades.
Which I guess makes sense that if you introduce a new style that doesn't already have upgraded cards, you're going to just need to make better versions of those.
Good point. Actually, it would be really frustrating playing Nathaniel with all his new cards and then like, well, what do I upgrade? None of the options fit this archetype that I started with.
I can take a really big gun.
Yeah. Good point. So, and actually, that even is another reason that you would probably end up upgrading boxing gloves, is maybe Nathaniel doesn't have that many interesting options to upgrade to.
Yeah, I think outside of this card pool, I think upgraded Stand Together would be a priority for me, because you can find it with boxing gloves. It's super strong.
Honestly, upgraded Stand Together is probably one of my most played leveled up cards. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, it's a very good card. Upgraded Safeguard also. But yeah, I think because he doesn't necessarily need to take lightning gun or shotgun or flamethrower, he might have a little XP to throw around.
True. We did mention that he could bandolier up and then dabble in other weapons.
That's true. And Bandolier 2 is a lot better than the original. The original doesn't have any kind of stat boost.
Right. He doesn't. I don't think that there was a body slot card in this whole pack, right? I don't think he currently has one.
Yeah.
So Bandolier seems like kind of the option. Either that or fancy clothes.
Yeah. And Grenade is a good XP option if you're not going the Bandolier route, because it doesn't take a hand slot.
Yeah. So I really liked what I saw. I'm excited. Probably my favorite pack so far, although I think I've really liked everything except Jacqueline. I don't know. I was hard on Jacqueline just because it was kind of just variants of things we've already seen. I think past that, everything's been really exciting.
Jacqueline is going to save you from not failing on your first one of the 1-2 punch. So
I mean, I would be happy to take any of these investigators with Jacqueline as another player to throw some more tokens at me when I need them. I'll always be happy to have Jacqueline on the team. I'm just not that excited about playing her. That's fine. I'll invite a new player over to play Jacqueline so that I can play with Jacqueline. All right, that's 8 out of 10 down. I don't know if we're filming at the time that we're filming this. I'm surprised that we haven't seen a taboo list update. So if one sneaks out, maybe we will call an emergency session to review that and sneak that in between some of these videos. Maybe at the time that this goes up, that's already happened. I don't know, but I'm pretty excited for it because I think there are some cards that could really use some shaking up.
Yeah, when did the last taboo list launch relative to Dream Eaters?
I think the week of Dream Eaters, like either launch day or in the days before it. I know that you and I talked about the taboo list at the same time that we talked through the Dream Eaters box. And we're recording this on the day that the Innsmouth conspiracy launched. We're not reviewing it tonight because we still have investigator decks to go through. But so I don't know. Maybe by the time this is up, there will be a link up there to our taboo talk through. But yeah, I think that's actually more hotly anticipated by me than Innsmouth itself, because I'm at a point where I have tons of content. I'll always be happy for more content, but it's not going to revolutionize my experience with the game. But the taboo list has the potential to. Let's mix up some of those seeker cards and charisma and some of that stuff. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if I go quite as far as more excited than Innsmouth, but I agree. I like having it released before every cycle, so I hope it's in the next couple days.
Yeah, I think it's gotta be. I'll be very surprised if it's not soon. So maybe that video's up already. Anyway, no, always nice to end on a kind of pointless tangent. So with that, thank you again, Steven. And thank you if you watched. I know because we've already recorded one video tonight that Steven doesn't have any final thoughts, so I just won't ask. And we'll sign off. So until next time, be optimal.